Back in the day before the Knights of Ren, there's a story to tell about a boy named Ben. Started off cool but ended up in the fire, living in the shadow parents that fought the empire. Daddy moved freight, mama sat on the throne. Heard the story, daddy's a hero, but daddy was gone. Big Luke came through, snatched him up swift. Said the force is strong with you, so consider it a gift. 2 Jedi in the family, you could do the math. Had the engines on before Ben decided his path. Return of the Jedi, about to do what I'm proud of.
Welcome back to another episode of The Canon. Today I'm doing some predictions for Star Wars Episode 9. So I have saw The Last Jedi 3 times as of today. And I'm ready to start talking about some of the things I think that we can expect in Episode 9, or at least that I would want to. So a couple caveats. Number one, this is spoiler. If you haven't saw The Last Jedi, please stop listening. Go ahead and watch The Last Jedi first, and then come back and check this out, and we can talk about Episode 9. Number two, we do know, if you follow the news, or even if you don't, I'll tell you, J.J. Abrams actually pitched his idea for Episode 9 on December 15th, which of course was last Friday when the movie came out. And so actually, a lot of people will tell you, they had the idea this whole time. They had the story. No, they didn't. Not only did they fire the Episode 9 director and Colin Trevorrow, but, J.J. Abrams is just now pitching his idea. And we don't know if they're going to go with that. We don't know if they're going to rework it. We don't know how it's going to be. So my basic point is what happened in Episode 8 isn't exactly going to mean they're going to follow through on Episode 9. So that's kind of the caveat. But anyway, let's just jump into it. So number one, I think this is a common one amongst the fans. I think there's going to be a time passage, meaning that when we get to Episode 9, there's going to be a considerable amount of time that has passed. Episode 7 to 8 was a few hours, as much as we can guess, maybe a day. But I definitely think when we get to Episode 9, we're picking up like at least a year ahead of, and where we can see that not a lot, but things have happened since Episode 8, and that we're going to see maybe the rebellion being rebuilt as we get the ending shot of the Last Jedi, basically telling us that the rebellion has been reborn because the galaxy is talking about these stories they heard, and people are being inspired, and all those different things. So there's definitely a possibility that the rebellion has been rebuilt, and that it's not a Magnificent Seven type deal where they're going around recruiting rebel fighters. I think, they're going to have some money. They're going to have some, manpower. They're going to have some resources all built back up, and that we're just going to pick up where the war is. Now, my biggest thing with the time passage is I think we're going to have new Force users, and on the light side. So while there's a couple Easter eggs where we know Rey took the Jedi text, and so she's going to be training in the Jedi ways. We also see this young kid that clearly has Force powers, as they call him, Broom Kid. He uses the Force to grab the broom. Now, it doesn't mean we're going to focus on him, but there's basically the message that people out there have the Force and they're being inspired. And so the way I would say it should go, and I'm not sure it will go this way, but I think in some capacity it will, is Rey is going to have basically her own small group of wannabe Jedi. As she is really mastering her Jedi powers, I think she's going to have some people that are able to, I wouldn't say pass as Jedi, but they might not be masters, but they're going to be able to fight. And so when we talk about the Jedi way dying, and also we're talking about Rey being very capable, I think she's going to be smart enough to learn how to find the kyber crystal, how to make her own lightsaber, how to show people how to make a lightsaber. And she's going to understand that while these people aren't masters, we need them to fight. And so she would be smart enough to just put them apart as the crew. So I just think we're going to have some young Force users, which would be great because that gives you an open door invitation to really make some new mythology. And, you know, they did that with episode 8. And I think episode 9 is a way to just continue that, where you give us a trio, maybe 4 or 5, whoever, of a small team of brand new characters with Force powers. And you could easily make it where everybody is stronger at one thing. Like, you know, this guy's really good at moving objects. This guy's really good at reading minds. This guy's really good at the lightsaber, or, you know, girl, whatever you want to do. I think that's just set up to make a cool team dynamic. Speaking of the team dynamic, my second thing is I think we're going to have the Knights of Ren come in episode 9. So in episode 8, we heard Luke say that Kylo basically slaughtered all the students, but he stole away a couple of them. And we know about the Knights of Ren. We got a preview of them in episode 7. I think what's going to happen is we're really going to have like a Princess Azula type story arc. If you watch Avatar: The Last Airbender, you'll know what I'm talking about, where basically Kylo is so angry and, you know, full of emotion that he gets real paranoid that the First Order, you know, might betray him, or he doesn't trust them. Whatever the reason, he brings in his own boys to kind of be his personal guard and his personal crew. So instead of the huge fleets and the huge First Order stuff, they can do, you know, quicker missions. They can be stealthier. They can be quick and elite, and they can go in and wreak damage when they need to. So I think he's going to bring in his own force. And so that pretty much sets up Rey with her light force users, and then Kylo with the Knights of Ren. And then also with Kylo, I think we're going to see Hux have a story arc where it kind of corrects what happened in episode 8. So episode 7, I really liked Hux. I mean, Hux was one of the guys I could understand, like he's a general, and he delivered that very Nazi type speech in episode 7, and you really felt that he was kind of menacing, even though he had force powers, but you knew he was ruthless. And then episode 8 went completely the opposite way, making him a goofy. And I think episode 9, we might swerve back towards him being menacing. Because if you watch episode 8 a couple times, you will notice that number one, we all know him and Kylo have a feud going on. And that while Kylo exerts himself as the alpha when he kills Snoke and all that, Hux still is reluctant to trust him. They just kind of have these shots where Hux is looking at Kylo like, yeah, I'm gonna screw this dude over. It's the first chance I get. We know they don't like each other, so I still believe there's gonna be a setup where Hux can either save Kylo, or he gets captured, or Kylo might die, or at least Hux thinks Kylo dies, but Kylo doesn't actually die. And it basically fulfills what Kylo was thinking about the betrayal. And so either the Knights of Ren are his only people left, or maybe the Knights of Ren get killed in the earlier battle, and so it's just him left. And so now he wants to destroy the First Order and destroy the Resistance. I think that's the way they're going, because at this point, Kylo doesn't really have a plan. And so if he's not a Sith, he's saying get rid of the Sith, then what is he? He uses the dark side, but what is he then? What's his plan? That part I don't get. And so I think the only real logical conclusion is that he's just pure evil, and he's pure evil because of the circumstances and his emotions, and he just wants to destroy everything. Kind of like Azula. So if you watch The Last Airbender, you know what I'm talking about. And so I think that's a perfect way where cause Hux wants that power. And people gotta remember, if you watch it, like Hux is the guy. That's his army. He, went and picked the slaves and got the slaves to become stormtroopers. Troopers. Captain Phasma is one of his people. And then all the fleets and everything is Hux. That's his army. He was following Snoke's orders because he believed in Snoke, but that's Hux's army. And I think he's going to make a power play to get it back. And especially because besides him being goofy, if you really watch the Last Jedi, a lot of the First Order people look at Hux's decisions like he's an idiot. Like there's number one when he's getting stalled by Poe at the beginning of the movie, and people looking at him like, dude, he's messing with you. And then the captain on the Dreadnought or whatever is like, dude, we should have scrambled our fighters 5 minutes ago. And then later on, when he oh man, I'm forgetting, but there was definitely times like in AT where Kylo throws them and people are like, yeah, they realize who's the real leader here. And people just really question Hux, I think. And so, there's the part I was thinking of when Laura Dern, character, General Holdo, she turns the carrier ship and she's getting ready to go to light speed. And Hux is like, it's empty. It's just a distraction. Don't worry about it. And then when it goes to light speed, he's yelling like, fire at that ship, and it's too late. And people are like, dude, Hux is messing up. So I really think Hux is going to try to make a power play to show people that he needs this and that he deserves this and that he's the leader. And I don't read any of the books and stuff. The only thing I did was the one before Rogue One, and that was an audiobook. But from what I heard in the books, like Hux comes from kind of like the Weasleys, actually, from Harry Potter. He comes from a family that's kind of not disgraced, but they're kind of looked at as jokes. And so I think he's really going to make a foolish power play to try to take back the First Order and get on Kylo's bad side, to where Kylo's going to come after him and he's going to come after Rey and the other team. So other quick things, I think Phasma's not dead. They go out of their way to show that Phasma can reflect a laser blast off of her armor. And they also, I think the reason, like, everybody's kind of like, why did they show her eye? Like, they cracked her helmet and showed her eye. Like, was that to make it feel human before she died? I think it's more so she's going to have like a burn scar because she did fall in the fire. And the armor could protect her, but that part didn't have armor. So I think she's going to have like a scar or whatever and be disfigured and coming after Finn for even more reasons. So I think that's what they're going to do with that. But then also, I just think that fight was a little weak and it didn't complete their story. I think there's more between Phasma and Finn. I think there's going to be a love triangle, and not everybody, but I think most people could tell, like, between Rey, Finn, and Rose. So the reason is, it's forced, and a lot of people don't like the relationship with Rose and Finn. I hate it myself. It's definitely forced, but the facts are, Rose says she loves Finn, and she kisses him. The other fact is, Finn doesn't react to that kiss at all. Like, what the hell? But the other fact is, he kind of takes care of her after she's unconscious, but that's probably because she saved his life. The other fact is, Rey was not friendly with Finn in this movie. A lot of people talked about Force Awakens, their friend zone. Not in this movie. Rey, like, she'll tell Chewie every time he tries to connect with the Resistance, like, hey, if you get connected, ask him about Finn. How's he doing? And then when Finn wakes up, the first thing he says is Rey. And then Poe asks him, you got 1,000 questions. He said, where's Rey? And then when they first see each other, before that, Rey tells Chewie again. Okay, before she goes to see Kylo, she says, if you see Finn, tell Finn, and he speaks Chewbacca. We don't know what he says. She said, yeah, tell him that. So that's a tease. Even though we don't know what he says, it's a tease for a reason. And then when Finn and Rey finally see each other, that hug is not friendly. Not for Rey. Rey has that face like, I'm home. And so she really likes him. Now, and then she has the kind of that jealous look on her face when Finn is putting the covers on Rose. So I think we're definitely set up for a love triangle. I'm actually hoping this doesn't happen, that they don't follow through, but we're definitely set up for it. And I think the love triangle is going to happen. I don't think this is going to happen, but my suspicion is it's going to be a love triangle. Finn chooses Rose, and Rey actually falls for Kylo Ren, but eventually he has to die. But I think she sympathizes and empathizes with him in The Last Jedi to the point where she respects his power, she respects his journey, and I think there's going to be some seduction between those two. And then the last thing, I think we're going to see Rey's parents in episode 9. Now, at first, I was like, Kylo's lying about her parents. There's no way they're nobody. He's saying that because that's what's going to get her to join to the dark side. And I still think that's a possibility because he said, when she said, Rey tells Kylo, hey, I saw your future. You're not going to bow to Snoke. You're going to turn. And he says, because of what I saw, I know you're going to turn. And he says, I saw who your parents were. So his assumption and everybody else's assumption is that since he knows her parents are nobody, that's going to make her turn to the dark side. And so it doesn't happen, but still, that's motivation for him to lie. And so he knows also he's feeding on her thoughts because I don't think she actually knows, but she's always felt my parents are nobody because nobody came for me. And so I think he was just preying on her emotions. Now, that was always my thing. So I'm like, okay, she's Kenobi, she's somebody. But now I'm at the point where I do believe Kylo was lying about some stuff. But I think her parents are nobody. I just think that he was lying about them being dead and trading her away for drinking money. I think her parents were nobody, but I think they're alive. I think there was a situation that ended up with her not being with them. And I think we're going to see them. She's going to find out they're alive, and we're going to actually see them in episode 9. So those are my predictions for episode 9 so far. Go to the comment section. Tell me what you think. Do you got any predictions? Thumbs up, subscribe. And if you heard it here, it's official canon.